Franklin D. Roosevelt, an American. Even though I'm running for president, I'm only a man wanting to help everyone who is suffering through this Great Depression. Yes, ever since my cousin, Theodore Roosevelt, became the 26th President of the United States, I've always wanted to become greater than him, and I'll do that by saving this great nation. I plan to become involved in this country unlike President Hoover. My first step in presidency will be to make banks take a mandatory holiday. This will ensure any savings left in these banks will remain protected. It will only take one day, but my government will only allow for the most stable banks to reopen. I understand your concern. That's why my government will create the Federal Deposit Insurance Cooperation, which will give you any money that you invested in the banks my government allowed to reopen. The hear nothing, the see nothing, the do nothing government of Hoover has to go. I'm offering Americans a new deal. The New Deal is to save working class Americans. I'll start with the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. It is aimed towards young Americans who are struggling to find work. During their time in the CCC, they'll be paid $1 a day, and they'll build bridges and plant trees to protect farmland. I will also be creating the WPA, Work Progress Administration, which will also hire Americans, but during their time in the WPA, they'll be building roads, schools, and hospitals, and other public buildings that will be useful towards the community. The PWA, another legislation that I'll be creating, known as the Public Work Administration, will be similar to the WPA, but it'll be focused on bridges and dams. It will also remove Hoovervilles and build livable houses that Americans should be living in. Another important aspect of the New Deal is both the Wager Act and the Fair Labor Standards Act. The Wager Act will allow for the formation of unions and will allow for the creation of the National Labor Board, which will both allow workers to protect their liberal rights. And the Fair Labor Standards will create a minimum wage and minimum hours worked. This will allow Americans to make more money and work less and take that well-deserved vacation we need. The most important part of the New Deal is the Social Security Act. This act will provide a government pension to Americans who can't work, mainly the elderly and the disabled. And the Social Security Act will also provide unemployment insurance. Now, this will provide a temporary income to those Americans who have become recently employed. The income will only last them just long enough for them to get back on their feet. Yes, I will, with the Agriculture Adjustment Act. This act will provide support to farmers and will plant trees to protect farmland from erosion, so the rest of America does not become a dust bowl. Yes, I will, with the TVA, or the Tennessee Valley Authority. This act will provide support to the farmers in Tennessee by building a dam. These dams will stop flooding, but both create electricity for farmers who need it, and it'll be sold extremely cheap. The TVA will also plant trees which can and will protect the Tennessee Valley from erosion. Within my first 100 days in office, I will make all of these alphabet agencies, like you say, legislation. Well, that is all the time I have today. If you like what you heard and you want change to happen, all I can say is vote for FDR.